Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Physique Cafe. We bring you the best advice in health and fitness from highly qualified doctors and fitness professionals. In the previous video, we learned how Ayurveda makes a huge impact in the times of pandemic with Professor Dr. H.T. Srinivas. Now, we are meeting him once again, and let's learn a little more about Ayurveda and also get to know what's the origin of Ayurveda. So let's welcome Professor Dr. Srinivas to the Physique Cafe once again. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Vijay from Physique Fit. Okay.
So it's a great pleasure talking to you, sir, and we thank you for providing your time and your valuable inputs and sharing your expertise on Ayurveda. Can you talk to us about the origin of Ayurveda and share a little more details about it?
Yes, Vijay, it's a very good question. See, in this aspect, there are two hypotheses. One is a story, mythological story. Another is supposed to be a history. In the mythological story, it is Lord Brahma, Chaturmukha Brahma, the forehead, having forehead. He is the creator of the universe, we all believe. And in this, when he was to create the universe and the human beings, even before creating the human beings, he created Ayurveda. I mean to say, he wrote Ayurveda with 1 lakh verses, so that his creation will make use of it. And from Brahma, he taught to Daksha Prajapati, and Daksha Prajapati to Ashwini Kumaras, from Ashwini Kumaras to Indra, and later it came down. These people are celestial people in the Swarga. So they came down and taught Ayurveda to the people who were there in his creation. This is I can call it as a story. The other aspect is the same Brahma. Here it is Nirguna Brahma. That means he has no guna. You cannot see him. Okay. He has no guna and you cannot see him. It is this actual pure knowledge which has flown from all the 4 directions in this south peninsula of Asia. That means we people, our forefathers, maybe your forefathers, who were there very much in this land, they started practicing Ayurveda. It did not come totally all of a sudden as Ayurveda. With the references we get in some of the classical texts of Ayurveda, that when a Vaidya at the time of Charaka has any doubt regarding the medicinal plants and their value, they have to take advice from Vanacharas, that means forest dwellers, Gopalas, that means the people who look after the cow, and shepherds. Shepherds, Ajapala, Avipalas. So in reality, when we go back, civilization started almost at the same time throughout the world. They were like tribals. So these people, when they were tribals, had gathered a lot of knowledge about the plant and how to heal their own diseases, affections. Okay. Later, when they came together, probably some cities were formed, larger groups were formed. So there, this knowledge was brought by the people who were there in the cities, and they started practicing and called it as Vaishajya Vidya. So all these are prior to Vedic Kala, before Veda. And during the Vedic Kala, there was some revolution, I can tell. So a lot of intellectual people came, and this Vaishajya Vidya, which was being practiced, was integrated with the philosophy of our land, Indian philosophy. They are known as Shad Darshanas. And simultaneously, all the Vedas were also came forward. And this Vaishajya Vidya was promoted to the level of Ayurveda, Veda. So here Veda means it is a science. All that has been mentioned, most of it, each verse which has been mentioned in Ayurveda, it will be difficult to disprove even today's scientific period. With all modern medicine coming so much, you see, it is has gone to the peak, highest. It has gone to the sky, I can tell you, with along with science. But certain things it cannot disprove. Okay, that is how Ayurveda has come. And this is the value of Ayurveda. It will be there. Only thing is we have to encash scientifically what all mentioned in Ayurveda. Okay, sir.
Now, is there a chronology defined as to in which civilization did Ayurveda come into prominence? Though it has been written, like you said, in a mythological age.
See, India, the physical features of India was classified, divided into two parts. One part is Indo-Gangetic plain, having Himalayas to the north and Vindhyas to the south, and to the east, maybe up to Afghanistan, and to the east up to the almost Assam, okay, and to the west to Afghan. So that is the Indo-Gangetic plain. And south to this is the southern India. What all happened in Ayurveda, how it developed, maybe even before that, so-called, which have been stated in Ayurveda, that south is occupied by Dravidians and Andhras. Okay, they had their own medicine, like called as Siddha. So that Siddha was also being practiced from that old age, maybe 5000 years BC. Okay, we cannot find, there are no archaeological monuments to say how many years back. Okay, but the flora and fauna, what we found, see, for example, the Jallikattu cattle, bulls, you don't find them anywhere in the world. At the same time, this South Mysore, this the cattle which are here, Allikar, also you don't find them. And also the North Karnataka, Kilari, there are different types, cattle. They have not come from any place like those cattle which are there in the North India. The North Indian cattle have got their genes linked to something like Middle East or even Africa. And one more thing, very important thing, the sheep here, what we have, has only maybe 3 or 2 inches length tail, whereas that of North India, okay, Middle East, Africa, Europe, they have got a long lengthy, more than 6 inches tail. Okay, this clearly shows that all the flora and fauna are belonging to this area. And our Dravidians and the Andhra had developed their own knowledge, and thereby Siddha came to existence. They are parallel. Okay. And all the regimens like Dinacharya, daily regimen, and then Rutucharya, as per the seasons, how we should live, how we should take the change of seasons. It is all pertaining to Indo-Gangetic plain, what has been mentioned in Ayurveda. Every 2 months there is a season. But when we come down, we do not have 6 seasons. Okay? You go to down, say maybe Kerala, the south of Kerala and south of Tamil Nadu, we don't have 6 Rutus. So there it changes. So this clearly says that the Siddha medicine had propagated in south, maybe at the same time when Ayurveda got propagated in north.
There's always a myth associated with the diet which is associated with Ayurveda. People say anything that Ayurveda suggests is green. Even when somebody clicks a picture which portrays Ayurveda, it's mostly about a plant, a herb, or some shrubs. So, what I want to know is, how is food defined in Ayurveda? What are the classifications? How does Ayurveda define this?
It's a very important question, because food is the thing which we need every day.
Yes.
Okay. See here, the food is ahara, which has been classified as and stated as rasa pradhana. See here, rasa means taste. Can you tell me how many tastes you have tasted?
That's a tricky question. Well, my primary diet is both veg and non-veg.
okay,
But
okay.
if you were to ask me about the different tastes,
Here, only
yes, taste.
See, sweet, madura, amla, lavana, katu, tikta, kashaya. See, sweet, okay, sour, salt, and then katu, pungent, like pepper, and then the astringent and the other one, and bitter. These are the 6. So, ahara is rasa pradhana, aushadha is virya pradhana, the potency. Okay. This ahara has been very well classified in Ayurveda as shukadanya. Shukadanya means monocotyledon. Okay. In that, the best is raktashali, red rice, and then shastikashali, the short period yield rice. In 60 days, from sowing to harvesting, it's only 60 days we get. And such rice are the best in monocot. There is wheat, there is barley, there is ragi, there are millets, kudanya, kshudradanya, millets, everything is there. What all we have now here, they are all explained in Ayurveda. So next comes Shimbijadanya. That means dicots. All pulses, starting from green gram, okay, ending with the black gram. So green gram is the best. Next comes tuar dal. Okay, next comes horse gram, then Bengal gram, and the least important in ahara what Ayurveda is given is the black gram. So we also eat black gram very less. Every day we don't prepare black gram, that means uddu. Okay, we don't prepare. So this is Shimbijadanya. And the next comes very interesting food, that is Mamsavarga. Okay, very interesting. You will be astonished if I say there are hundreds of varieties of animal which were used in the menu of those Vedic period or during those period, and they are all explained in Ayurveda. And among them, the goat meat, and goat meat means aja mamsa, and then avi mamsa means sheep. These two have been declared as the best suited for the constitution of human beings. And this goat meat soup, it is parama. Parama means the best in giving nutrition, supplying nutritions to the normal, healthy, as well as those who are not healthy. Okay. So this is the thing. And next is grita. In grita, that means products from the cow. Ghee, milk, ghee, okay. Even gomutra, that is cow's urine. Go all, and navanita, the butter, all these are the best from the cow. Except one thing, in Ayurveda, beef has been denounced as causing some diseases, not very good for maintaining the health. Okay. See, in this, all the other animals are all now protected animals. We cannot eat peacock. We cannot eat an antelope. So we are limited to this. In that, even during the winter season, in winter season, in Indo-Gangetic plain, it is very cold. There it says the person has to take excess of ghee, and he can use pork and even buffalo. Okay. So this is regarding Mamsa Varga. So next comes Taila Varga. In Taila Varga, the best is Tila Taila. Okay. The more used in South India. You understand? This Tila Taila is more used in South India. And there is a statement for Tila Taila. People who do Vyayama, soldiers, after doing exercise, they were given Tila Taila. On the onset of menarche, in Tamil Nadu, in tradition, they give Tila Taila. Okay. And also in Ayurveda references are there that Daityas take Tila Taila after doing exercise. Daityas. Okay. So this is Tila Taila. And regarding the fruits, among the dry fruits, dry grapes are the best. Many fruits are explained. Many fruits, dry fruits are explained. Among them, dry grapes are the best. In fresh fruit, pomegranate is the best. And it is used as a fruit. It is used always as a sour thing while preparing non-vegetarian. Okay, anything you prepare with mamsa, okay, non-vegetarian, this was being added. I think it's a practice now in north also, maybe in Himachal Pradesh or there they use this raw pomegranate. And in vegetables, Valli pala, that means those which are there on the climbers. Kushmanda is the best. Have you seen Kushmanda? No. It is ash god. It ash god. Ash god supposed to be very good. It is medhya also, intellectual. Okay. Kushmanda. And in tubers, below the ground.
Anything grown below,
yeah. It is, there are many. Among them, the best is our ardraka, means ginger.
Okay.
Yeah, these are the things. And these are the one which are used. What you had today for your maybe midday meal?
I've consumed chicken.
Chicken you have consumed. Okay, I will tell about chicken for you. See, chicken is in selection of chicken. It is grouped under Vishkiradi Pakshi. Vishkiradi Pakshi means it is a bird which scratches the ground and picks its food. Have you seen it? A chicken, no? In its nature, all animals and birds in this menu should be in natural capacity. Okay, not caged. Today, not broiler chicken is not the one we should take. Okay, and any animal, not all animal, now we cannot say any animal, only goat and sheep. There, Ayurveda has gone a step forward to say which part is more nutritious and easy digestible. This description you will not get anywhere. Okay, even social and preventive medicine also you will not get. Okay, what it has said, the meat along with the vertebral column, backbone, are best for making soup and easy digestible than the shoulder and hind leg meat. Okay, even more nutritious and needs more digestion and very strong is the head meat soup. Head meat. Yes, goat head meat. And in therapy also, in disease, certain diseases, it has been very well explained what to be taken. Okay. Now, for example, I can tell you khichdi. Okay.
The normal everyday consumption.
Khichdi you make, no? You use a green gram dal and rice in equal proportion. Yeah, this is bhakta. This is from Ayurveda. Okay. Odana, where you add rice, meat, and even dal, ghee, and with prakshepaka dravyas. Okay, prakshepaka dravyas are spices. Okay, same spices, same thing. Okay, Tvagela patra nagakesara. Tvak, our cinnamon. Yela is cardamom. Patra is tamala patra, we put it for biryani. So, even biryani was there as vodana in those days.
Defined already.
Yes, all preparations you should have ghee. Depending on the constitution of the person, the condition of the person, it is made. And also they have told how much, which ahara dravya should be taken how much. Do you know, where, do you prepare, are you a good cook?
I'm not a good cook, but I'm good
Okay.
savor my food. So
Okay, suppose you prepare or anybody in your family prepares biryani means, per person they may calculate, say 150 grams of rice. Okay, or anything. Suppose if it is vegetarian, they may add 50 grams of dal. Okay, and then that's how they are going to prepare. So they prepare, no? In particularly certain diseases, it is going to change. Okay, 150 grams means it is a 3 pala. In Ayurveda, it is said you should use 3 pala and 1 pala of dal. Okay, and ardha pala of ginger. It comes to maybe 20 grams. And pepper, which we use, it is going to be 1 kola or 2 kola, that means 3 to 6 grams. And sufficient quantity, required quantity, ghee we have to add and prepare.